Our deen is a belief in the heart, is with words and with acts. You cannot separate the acts from the heart, the words from the acts, or the words from the heart. Think about Ibn Mas'ud, who went you had demonstrations with a lot of people, and you had sometimes people like Ibn Mas'ud. But no, every day he came back and they beat him, and some people said that we didn't recognize him even.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته Ahmad. How you doing?
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. I'm fine. I'm fine. Alhamdulillah. And you? Hope you're
Alhamdulillah.
well.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. So, Ahmed, you live in Paris and you have a channel called Perspective Muslim, and you've worked with Cage. I've seen you working with Cage, and you've done a lot of activism. So, I want to know a little bit about yourself. So, what do you do?
First, I'm a Palestinian activist in France, in Paris, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
I have a, I don't know how to call it in English. We call it a master in French. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's in English. A master
Linguistics,
in
probably. Yeah, linguistics.
not in linguistics, in history. I wrote
Philology.
in what?
Philology. History,
In
culture,
philology.
language, altogether philology, yes.
Okay, thank you. In philology, I wrote a biography of the Sheikh Izzuddin al-Qassam, and also I have a diploma in Arabic. But these diplomas didn't help me to work in my domain. I'm not a teacher in regular classrooms in public schools, for example, not even in private schools. And I'm not a translator. Even if I have some schedules in translating for translations between Arabic and French. My main activity is that I'm a teacher in Arabic. I teach Arabic a little bit. And I'm also an activist with Perspectives Musulmanes, Muslim Perspectives, and with Urgence Palestine, which is the biggest solidarity movement for Palestine in France these days.
Which one is it again? One is Perspective Musulmane and the other one is Parti de Indigo?
No, Urgence
Okay.
Palestine. The Parti des Indigènes de la République is another organization. I'm not a member of it, but they are friends, and we work with them a lot. We share a lot of ideas and concepts, and we do a lot of activities with them. Yes, but I'm not a member of Parti des Indigènes de la République.
Okay.
I'm
So I think
a member of Perspectives Musulmanes and Urgence Palestine.
Okay. That's great. Can you tell me what are these two organizations for? Why do you have two different organizations? What are their roles?
I will start by Urgence Palestine because maybe it's the simplest one. Urgence Palestine is an organization which, like the name shows it, because if we have to translate it in English, we would call it Palestine Emergency or Emergency for Palestine or something like this. This organization has been created after the 7th of October 2023, after the beginning of the genocide, and it was created by Palestinian activists and mostly Muslim activists and also leftist activists for Palestine. And most of these people, or a part of these people, were have been in the past involved in the demonstrations and the protests and the solidarity movement for Palestine before 2023. So this movement is new. It has 400 days, 1 year and 2 months, or 1 month. But the people that created the Urgence Palestine mostly are people that have a political and activist experience before this, and this movement is like a coalition of other movements like Perspectives Musulmanes, like Parti des Indigènes de la République, and also leftist organizations and other organizations, and also includes people which are not involved or members of any party, movement, or organization. So it's an original kind of movement or organization, which includes organizations and people.
Leaders. Mm-hmm.
Not just not leaders, even anyone can enter in Urgence Palestine. The difference that you have between Urgence Palestine and other solidarity movements is that Urgence Palestine is led by Palestinians, and we have we defend the idea that the solidarity movement or the movement for Palestine, we don't even call it solidarity movement, because we see we think that this movement has to be led by Palestinians, but not any Palestinians, by Palestinians that shares the idea that Palestine must be liberated, must be freed from the river to the sea, and that yes, and that we have to support the Palestinian resistance, and we have to fight against racism, Islamophobia, because Israel is a part of a larger oppressive colonial movement, colonial behavior of the West against Muslims and minorities in general. So this is the main, if you want, the main things that are the basement of Urgence Palestine. And Perspectives Musulmanes is an organization that we created it maybe 4 years ago, and it started when 3 or 4 years ago. It started when the French government wanted to make a new law. We call it la loi séparatisme, the separatism law against Muslim, which is at this day until now.
Didn't that start in 2018 or 19 by Macron, or is it a recent organization?
No. 2000, the Perspectives Musulmanes is from 2000. The movement that led to Perspectives Musulmanes is from 2000. Yes, from 2019. If you want to, we had the first. How can I say?
Initiations.
Elements initiating. We met with some brothers at that time to organize demonstrations against the Macron's government, against Islamophobia in France in 2019. But we didn't start to build the movement now at that time. We started it really when Macron wanted to pass a new law, which is called loi séparatisme, against what they call the Muslim separatism. And this law is maybe one of the most oppressive law against Muslims since the laws against the hijab, against the niqab, which is banning hijab from schools and from a lot of places in France, and which are banning the niqab even from the streets of France. So this law is and Macron and his government, to be sure that they won't face any strong opposition from Muslims, they I think we say dissolve. No? Just want to check to be sure.
Sure, no problem.
Yes, do we say that you dissolve
They
an
banned,
organization.
forbidden something.
They forbidden Muslim organizations, big Muslim organizations like Baraka City, like CCIF, which is
Mm-hmm.
an organization which was working against Islamophobia, mostly in the courts, in the justice courts,
Mm-hmm.
to defend Muslims with lawyers and everything, which was a big organization. They
So these
dissolved.
organizations were dissolved, like in the sense they were separated. Okay.
Yes, they were dissolved and forbidden, and other organizations
Oh,
also.
do you mean to say that they were banned, they were closed, they were shut down?
Yes, they were shut down.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sorry, my English is not so.
no,
It's
no,
not
no, no, it's
so.
okay, it's okay. I thought when you said dissolve, I thought like they put laws that they can't function together or they had like limitations, but shut down is like completely just shutting
Yes,
down.
they were shut down. They were
Mm.
shut down. Yes. And even, for example, for Baraka City, the the um, the building where Baraka City had all their office, the offices of Baraka City were even took by the state, which made of it a police center, for example. Um, and when they did this, we decided to not leave them without any opposition for this law. But at that time, the repression, the oppression of Muslims in France was so strong that we were a few people. We were not a lot of people that
Mm-hmm.
which were involved against this law.
So
But
you couldn't
Alhamdulillah,
galvanize, you couldn't make a,
no, we couldn't.
you couldn't
It was,
galvanize.
it
Okay.
was too difficult, and it was too difficult. And also, we were getting out of the COVID, uh, um, the COVID issue,
Lockdowns, yes.
lockdowns. We were getting out of the lockdowns, and it was very difficult to mobilize people against this law. And
Mm-hmm.
the repression and the government crackdown was so strong at that time, and the people were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
We could feel the fear of the people, of the especially Muslim people at that time, and the leftists at that moment were involved with us against this law.
Okay. So they were afraid of the government and cracking down on Muslims. And now the left has found its way towards aligning with Muslims. Is that what you're saying?
No, not as not
For
at
Palestine,
that point,
for
because
the
Palestine changed everything.
hmm
Palestine changed everything. But before this, Alhamdulillah, the thing that we were able to do, we mobilized few people. These people, after this mobilization against this law, founded Perspectives Musulmanes to build a movement against Islamophobia, but not just against Islamophobia, to build a political movement, to build a some Muslim political perspectives, a Muslim program
hmm
against Islamophobia, and to build the Muslim community in France to help Muslims in France and our community here. Not just to struggle to make a struggle against Islamophobia, and also our mobilization against this law. Um, we had the possibility to um, show the French Islamophobia to the whole world. We had
hmm
a lot of contacts in Western medias in the US, the UK, Russia, in the Arab countries with Al Jazeera, and Alhamdulillah, at that time there. We can say that we contributed to the French to a shaming to shame France in front to show the reality of France in front of the
of
world.
the world. Yeah. So my question would be, so far with Perspective Musulmanes and the Urgence Palestine, I'm sorry, I'm not doing the French accent. So
It's very good.
I can't do it. No, I'm saying I can't do it. So with these two organizations, what have you achieved so far? What impacts has it had? You say one is like, shaming the French government or policies in front of the world, but like in something that is helping you, your community.
For Perspectives Musulmanes, the French shaming was a first step,
Hmm.
and this mobilization was the first step. After this, when we decided to build this movement, we did a lot of work to redefine a lot of terms.
Hmm.
Some like the word Islamophobia. How do we define Islamophobia? For us, Islamophobia is not just the aggressions or attacks against Muslims, moral aggressions or physical aggressions against Muslims. It's something much more
Dehumanizing
bigger.
Muslims and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, it's not just this. It's all.
Hmm.
It's a system. It is something systemic and systematic that you can even find in um, the politics of the towns of for example, for education. For example, Muslims neighborhoods has less schools. The people has less accessibility to, for example, to hospitals, to doctors, things like this. And even if you take um, the how do you call it, for example, Muslim people in France doesn't do not live as long as French
The
people,
lifespan
and
of
it's something
Muslims. Hmm.
what?
The lifespan of Muslims is shorter.
Yes, it's
Hmm.
shorter than the other French people in France because Muslims in France, for example, when they work some hard works, and even when they have diplomas, it is very difficult for them to get an access to good jobs or jobs which has relation with their diplomas. So for us, Islamophobia is something much more bigger that you can analyze it, or you can see it in things that if you say the word Islamophobia, most of the people won't think about it. When you say,
They
for
brush it
example,
off
that
you.
yes,
They brush it
so
off you. Mhm.
uh, so
My
uh,
question was, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that first, it was secondly, first it was the shaming of France. Secondly, it was a work on our words, our terms, how to define it. What do we say about the term religion? Is Islam a religion? For example, for us, it's not a religion. Islam is not a religion. What is the secularism? Things like this to build a real movement. To build a movement that have
I would rather suggest I would say like Islam is not just a religion. It is a religion. It is a deen, but it's not just a religion. It's beyond a religion. It's the way of life as well, right? How
uh,
we
because we
mhm.
don't translate deen as religion.
Okay.
Because
But
even in Arabic, deen, if you take the linguistic meaning of deen in Arabic means the the acts,
Yeah, way of life, kind of. Yeah.
not just way of life. يعني, for example, when in Arabic you say كما تدين تدان, um, uh, you will be treated as you're treating people, for example.
Hmm.
So the first meaning of deen is the actions, the acts, and the acts and how do you say, the retribution for these acts. So even the terms in their origins
Hmm.
are not the same, because religion is not a term that indicates you that there is acts. It's speaking about the link between people, or the link that you have, the relation that you have with uh,
With God.
God, uh,
Hmm.
gods, or spirituality, or things like this. So this is why we say that Islam is not a religion, and also that this term religion even is used against us to say, no, you're a religion and we are a secular state. So religion has nothing to do with the secular state. And we say, no. Islam is something, like you said, is a way of life, is a way of thinking. Islam is
an embodiment of everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, but even secularism, they would suggest, I mean, there are claims that secularism is a religion. I mean, of course, the West denies it, but it's also, it carries the baggage of some, I mean, you know what's happening with the West, right? Like, I don't have to specifically name them, but like some of these liberal movements, democracy, they treat it as a religion.
Yes, we can say it. They treat secularism as a religion. And you have, for example, in France, some people that says, because in France we have also the concept of laïcité. You don't have any translation in English for this term because we make a difference between laïcité and secularism. The two terms, the two words are close, and most of the people, and even for me, it will be difficult to explain what is the difference between those two terms. But you have people in France that not just regular people, I mean some professors, politics, that defend the idea that the laïcité, or secularism if you want, must be a kind of must become the officially the religion of the state, the official belief of the state. So yes, you have people in this that which are not just
they're forcing their religion onto us, basically. Yes.
It's not just you and I that will say, oh, this is it has some similarities with religion. No, you have people that says in France it must be like a religion. They say it frankly. Some of them say it frankly. And to get back to our achievements with the Perspectives Musulmanes, like I said, we worked on this, and also we continued our work against Islamophobia and for all the Muslims issues in the world. For example, and this will lead me to Palestine. For example, in France, between 2014 and 2023, the movement for Palestine declined. There was barely, I won't say nothing, but
very few people participate.
So few participations or protests. And between 2021 and 23, the most important protests for Palestine in Paris, at least, were led by Perspectives Musulmanes. Hundreds of people during some demonstrations.
And here's my question. So all these people, I mean, all these protests, you said most of these protests are led by Perspectives Musulmanes, but are these only Muslims who are leading these protests? Like in your organization, are these Muslims, proper Muslims, or is it like you're open to other people, but yeah, the organization name is Muslim?
Before the 7th of October, there were no, I won't say that no one was caring about Palestine, but for example, the left or other people weren't involved a lot in the for Palestine. There was some, because in 2014 the state cracked down against the Palestinian movement. The Palestinian solidarity movement in France was so strong, so brutal, that for 10 years you had
complete media silence.
Nothing, but it was silenced for years, and a lot of people were arrested, even in jailed in 2014. So even some Palestinian activists or people, Muslims or non-Muslims, which were activists for Palestine, um, they they won't they
weren't
were not
active, yes.
active during these years, or only a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But after the 7th of October, before I just come before this, you had one or two organizations, non-Muslims organizations, which were leading some protests, and also Perspectives Musulmanes. But after the 7th of October, like I said, Urgence Palestine is something that is really big. So Muslims are not the main leaders of the movement.
Mm-hmm.
We can say that Palestinians, uh, Muslims and Christians are leading the movement, but the organizations which are inside Urgence Palestine, or which are supporting Urgence Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
are most of them are not Muslims organization. And why? Because before the 7th of October, during more than 10 years, like I said before, the French governments, not only the Macron, even François Hollande, and even before this, the repression, the oppression of Muslims in France increased during this time. And after 2020, like I said, the most biggest Muslim organization have been shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing. We are the only one left that are on the scene, and not because it's not allowed to Muslims to they want to forbid Muslim of getting involved in politics, in activities like this, but because of the wall of the fear, a lot of Muslims and organizations uh, didn't want to
Participate or
continue to get
initiate,
involved or
yes.
to participate or initiate things. So
Mm-hmm.
we did it, but we are barely alone in the
Mm-hmm.
Muslim community, which are taking the risk of being, if we can say it, some leaders
Mm-hmm.
or some people that show their faces on the
To lead the
cameras,
movement,
or
of course, definitely.
yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
Urgence Palestine, the fact that is a little bit disturbing is that most of the protesters
Mm-hmm.
are Muslims in the streets of France,
Yes.
and especially in Paris. Most of the protesters are Muslims, or from the Muslim community, or from other minorities. But the leaders of the movement, most of them are not Muslims. But Alhamdulillah, this time, Muslims with Perspectives Musulmanes we are playing a great role and a legitimate role in the mobilization, because before 10 years ago, I remember that when you wanted to speak as a Muslim for Palestine, it
Mm-hmm.
was something forbidden, even by the Solidarity movement. It was not forbidden, but it was something that was silenced.
Mm-hmm.
And now we were able, with all the work that we made with Perspectives Musulmanes, to say that no, we are going to speak about Palestine, and when we will speak
From a
about
Muslim
it
perspective, right?
from a Muslim perspective,
Mm-hmm.
as Muslims, because if you have a lot of Muslims in the world, not just in France, in the world, that are getting involved for Palestine, it's not just because there is a genocide. Because before the genocide, you had a lot of Muslims which were active for Palestine. It's because Palestine for us is something, is a sacred land, is
Mm-hmm.
the
The
Al-Ard
Holy Land, yeah.
al-Mubarak, the Holy
Uh,
Land, and that Al-Masjid al-Aqsa is one of the most important masjids for us. Uh, and
and also, I think also one of the things I would say is like the aggressors, people who are who want to occupy that land, are using Islam in a derogatory way. They use Islam like it's a backward religion that needs to be civilized or they need to be captured. I mean, any of these news. So bringing Islam like to tackle that, you cannot just like wash away Islam. You have to bring in the Islamic perspective to counter the argument because they are not saying, I mean, it's a hidden way of saying Arabs are barbarians, Arabs are uncontrollable. That's the worst terms that they use from the Western media, right?
Yes, like you said, the people that are occupying Palestine now are uh, slaughtering people, are genociding people. It's not something new; it's something old. They use the Islamophobia and the fact that they are fighting against the Islamic civilization
Mm-hmm.
to convince the West that we have the same fight. You have a problem with Muslims, and we also, because Palestinians are Muslims, and they are trying to, and the Muslims around the world are have solidarity with Palestinians because of the Masjid al-Aqsa, the
Mm-hmm.
Holy Land, and everything that we said. So, and we see it in Gaza right now, for example, because the genocide is not just about killing people. Uh, Currently in Gaza, for example, the Israeli the occupation army is destroying everything. Even the cemeteries are being destroyed. So they are trying to erase to destroy any trace, anything that has a relation with the Palestinian Arab Muslim presence in Palestine. It's not
And
just killing
and
people and
that
yes,
and that is very important for the left to understand that the aggressors are actually attacking Islam first and then the ethnic group, and that they don't understand. They often think it's a secular movement. It's a human movement, but they don't understand the aggressors are not coming from there. They attack Islam first, and then by dehumanizing people through religion, they can now act upon their aggression. I
yes,
find that the West doesn't understand that.
because the West is a part of the problem, because the West and Israel has the same nature. The West is, I mean, the ideology that the Zionism is a Western ideology, a colonial Western ideology. It's a Western nationalism. It's not something that is really different than that the French colonialism or even the British colonialism or the American colonialism. And in fact, if you look at history, uh, and if you look at the way that Israel these days is dealing with Palestinians by the genocide and the massacres, even in the West Bank and now in South Lebanon,
Hmm.
you will see that a lot of the methods, of the ideas, of the way even of presenting the situation come from France, especially France, because France, for example, was one of the first countries, Western countries, that helped Israel, and until 67 was even the first um, country which was sending weapons and
Hmm.
munitions for Israel before even the United States, and even more than Great Britain.
Okay.
And when you look at the colonial methods in Palestine, I mean, against Palestinian people, you can see that you have a lot of similarities with what happened in, for example, in Algeria. The massive destruction of the country, the using torture as something basic for to deal with people are things that Israel learned with France, and not just Israel. In fact, for even the United States asked from France at that time. I mean, in the 60s, to send French officers to learn them how to torture, how to deal with locals, how to deal with rebellions, uprisings. In the U.S. Asked the help of France. The dictatorships in Latin America, Israel, and a lot of countries learned from France how to deal with um,
Uprising.
the uprisings or people under colonial rule. And today we see that Israel is applying these lessons that they took from France, because they are killing people without any form of limit. They are torturing, systematically torturing people, not just in Gaza, but also in West Bank. They are killing people, and a lot of people are dying under torture. And all these things, which are systematic killing, torturing, even the when they expel people, they do we say deport people? When they
Yeah, they deport people too.
yes, when they deport people, all these things, they do it as France did it in Algeria, for example.
Here's my question. I have a small question. What happened in 2023 with Nahel in I think it was in Paris. So when these what so-called riots that happened, what exactly happened? Did the were they grassroots people? Were they like, people genuinely supporting Nahel? Or because we saw a lot of like, buildings and cars being lit and looted. So do you think it was genuine, or do you think they were like, people that were sent by French government or like, outside sources to push the Islamophobia agenda? So they can call them, oh, look at these savages, and that's why we have these laws. That's why we need these justifications. So, do you think there were like, outside people involved in the revolt or riots, whatever you call it?
First, we don't call it riots. For us, it's a revolt and uprising, and it is the biggest one since the French Revolution 2 centuries ago. Because if you take a look at French history, during 2 centuries, you had revolutions, uprisings, but not on the whole territory, like in 2023, when Nahel, rahimahullah, was killed by the police. This is the first thing. Secondly, I don't think that the state, the government, sent people to make to
So
destroy,
astroturfing.
burn, and everything to justify the repression and to justify some laws or things like this. No, because when it started, the French government, we saw it was in panic. They made some moves that they never make, like in jailing the police officer which killed Nahel. Usually, every time they don't do this. They don't in jail the police officer. They keep it free, even if he's condemned after. And it is in most of the cases they don't condemn the police officer. And if they condemn him, it will be something really small. He won't go to jail. It is. But in this case, the French government jailed the police officer. But after a few months, they released him. But to avoid the riots, the uprising, they did this. And the violence that we saw is the way of the suburbs, the French suburbs, and the minorities, the youngsters, to express their violence. Because, like we said before, Islamophobia is everywhere. These suburbs are like ghettos, because we don't have school as much that other people have. We don't have hospitals. We don't have all the access We don't have, for example, libraries like other neighborhoods have. And this generates youngsters, generations of people that live in violence. So they won't if we don't have a political movement which is ready to take care of these people. And when the Nahel was killed, when they killed Nahel, rahimahullah, we didn't have at this time any political movement, Muslim movement, for example, that was able to take in charge or to lead this movement, this thing. And after, when I said, for example, that France, that Israel, the US, and other countries, and Arabic countries, Latin American countries, took France as an example to torture, slaughter, to deal with minority people and colonized people. Now it is the contrary. France is asking Israel to help her, to help France to deal with riots, uprisings, and things like this. During these few days of revolt and uprising in France, the French police asked the help of the Israeli police, and the Israeli told them that you have to behave, to deal with them like we deal with Palestinians in the occupied territory, by entering the cities with military trucks, with weapons, and patrolling like you were in an enemy country. And when they did this, they were, at that time, they were able to calm down the situation. And because also they arrested thousands of youngsters. As far as we know, the death toll is 5 or 6 people killed, hundreds of injured people. And even when you look at the way they cracked down this movement, this uprising, they tried to not kill too much people because they were afraid of the fact that it might become something too big, because police centers were burned, city halls were burned, some official state buildings were attacked. So it is maybe one of the most dangerous uprising, revolt, or riots, call it like you want, that were threatening the French state since years, since decades.
Since the French Revolution, as you said at the beginning. Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. When you told me like these ghettos are enforced upon these people, so neither are they allowed, or not allowed rather, like they are not given the opportunity for education and like healthcare. It's as if neither the state wants to help, nor do they want to nor do they want like Muslims to help. Like they are preventing, like you said, like so many what do you call, masajids were closed, so many organizations were closed. So neither does the state want to help those people, nor do they want, like, Muslims to educate these people and civilize, I mean, not civilize, I would say, but like, yeah, to an extent, behave like, because as a Muslim, you're supposed to take care of nature. You're supposed to treat the neighbors properly. And if you're not going to, they might be addicted to drugs, they might be addicted to harmful things that can harm them, and it's as if the state wants that. Is that what you can say?
Yes, like you said, we have a real problem, because we have these ghettos, these Muslims ghettos in France. The state doesn't want to get involved in it. And when they invest in these Muslim neighborhoods, it's only to make propaganda, to crack down people, to arrest people, to ban hijab, to ban the abaya, for example, from the schools, to humiliate people. they say that they say that our neighborhoods are lost parts of the republic, but they don't do anything things relevant to
What
take
the
care
people
about
need.
what the
Mm-hmm.
people need, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even try to convince our people to love the republic, to love France, to be secularized or everything. No. And in the other hand, like you said, they don't allow us to take care about these neighborhoods, even if we are not politicized, even if you have only a charity organization to help these neighborhoods, or to even not, we won't speak about Muslim schools, even if you have some association, some organization which will help people to work at school or things like this, things like that, they won't allow it, or they will make a lot of difficulties, and
Mm-hmm.
they will make problems to these people and organization, and they will make everything that they can to um,
It's as
to
if they want to have a modern slavery. Don't you think? Like to keep some people repressed in that state so they can have a generation of not aggressive but kind of a slavery. Is that what you think? Like to keep them dumb so they can do the janitor works, to do these low workers. It's as if I feel that way because eventually they need to work and they have these blue collar job works.
there is something like this. But now I think they went further. I think they are on another way of thinking. I
Mm-hmm.
think at the beginning, when they brought Muslims in France and in Europe, they thought that, okay, these Muslims, we were not going to change them. They lived in Africa, Asia. They are Muslims. We were going to humiliate them for sure. But okay, if they are not Republicans, if they don't love France, it's not our problem. These people are adults, and it would be difficult to change them. But they thought that they would be able to to change us. I mean, the second generation, the third generation, they thought that this generation would love France,
Except
not
the
accept
French.
the system, and would abandon Islam. And this is something they never forgave it us. They don't forgive the fact that we didn't abandon Islam, because they, as the way they think, their system, their ideas are stronger, better, much more rational. And for them, Islam is savagery, not rational. And they don't understand why, after generations, sometimes you have some families in France, Muslim families, that are in France since 4 generations. They don't understand why the children are still Muslims, and
Mhm.
why not just still Muslims, why they are getting involved in their deen, in Islam, even more than before. And so I think in France we are the mentality is now not to civilize us, it's to erase us. It's to they speak about in France the grand remplacement, which is the great replacement. I think we
Uh-huh.
can call it like this.
Yes, yes, yes.
They saw us as a threat, a demographic threat. And when you say great replacement, what is the solution? It would be the great deportation, or the great expel, or I don't know how to call it.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
so I
no
think
wonder Eric Zemmour and Marie Le Pen wants to repel citizenships, correct?
there is some of them, they are trying to. You have a lot of things. during these last years, it became more and more difficult to get the French citizenship, first. Secondly, they are trying to pass some laws that they to get easier the fact of take your French citizenship back if you have two citizenships. For example, if you're Algerian and French, and if they want to take back the French citizenship, they are trying to work on it. But in fact, this is something that already exists in the French law, but they want to enforce it. They want to enforce it, to enforce this thing, and we don't know what will be the next step, because, or we know it because there is some politics, and not just small politics, some leaders.
Politicians,
you have, for example, Eric Ciotti, who spoke about opening a French Guantanamo, for example.
Oh.
Yes, you have some politics that speaks about deporting some Muslim activists in the French colonies, like they made before. Or you have some of them that are saying that we have to French must in jail all the people, the Muslim people that have they call it fiche S. I mean that have a file with the secret services or in the police.
If you have criminal records,
not criminal record, security file. For example, you're an activist, and they saw you. They see you as a threat. You don't have any criminal record, nothing. You have only a file with in the police services that says that this guy is fighting against Islamophobia. He's dangerous, or something like this, and this can make you troubles in France, even if you don't have any criminal record. And some of them, and you don't even know if you have this file, or if you
is your name there in there? Okay,
that your name is in their files, but it can make you a lot of problems when you want to travel, in work. And some of them are saying that even if they don't have any criminal record, even if they don't made anything against the law, against the public security, we must jail them. So you have people speaking like this, not just Eric Zemmour and Marine Le Pen. It is something much more bigger than these two leaders, political leaders. And for example, I come back to Palestine. These times, the crackdown against the Palestinian solidarity movement took another phase. Before, at the beginning, they were hitting people, arresting massive arrests. Now it's more like they investigate against leaders and activists more than before. And they tried, for example, to jail the brother Elias Dimzalen. And they tried to put on him to make a trial against him. One of the charges against him could have led him to jail for 15 years because he said the word intifada. And his speech was peaceful speech, non-violent. They tried to do this. Alhamdulillah, we worked on this case, and a lot of people, even French leftist representatives at the parliament, spoke about his case and were in solidarity with him. So when he had the trial few weeks ago, they only asked for 8 months. Not of jail. How do we say it when
house imprisonment? Or
no, not house. They say, for example, we condemn you for 8 months of jail, but you won't go to jail. If you do something wrong again, you will go to jail for 8 months. I don't
Okay.
know how to call
I have
uh,
never heard of such kind of laws, but could be.
prison avec sursis. I'm trying to find suspended sentence.
Okay, suspended sentence. Okay.
Yes.
So it's kind of a warning. I get
Yes,
it.
it's kind of a warning. We don't have yet. We don't have the result of the trial, but they didn't ask something big because there was so large movement to help the brother, and because they attacked the brother because he's Muslim, and to attack the
So they're trying
Palestinian.
to scare Palestinian cause. Yes.
Yes, because if you condemn someone for the word intifada,
Mm-hmm.
you can condemn anyone who will say we have to mobilize for Palestine, because intifada means you're going to mobilize yourself by several kind of means. It could be non-violent or violent. I mean, and he was clear. He said we want to make intifada, but peaceful intifada by protesting, but by demonstrations. If you say that intifada is forbidden, tomorrow you can condemn someone because he spoke about revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the also the way that they use Islamophobia not only to destroy the Muslim community, but also to also trying to fight against the Palestinian solidarity movement, and even to use it after against their own their opposition, their political opposition.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is interesting. Unless and until, when you told me with Elias' case, unless and until people galvanize and work for their rights to gain back their rights, you're not gonna get something, and that needs what do you call it? Galvanization. That needs the community to come together and work together, but also it needs a strong community, and uh, because recently I think we were talking about the protest is dwindling, like less and less people are coming to protest and um what do you call it? Like boycott. We were talking about boycott as well. There's some. Do you think uh what do you call it? The Nahel's case has scared people to come to protest?
It it is true that in the Nahel case, the crackdown was so strong,
Mm-hmm.
the thousands of arrests, killing people, injuring people. You have a whole generation which has been broken by these events. They still come at the demonstrations, and sometimes you have even youngsters which wants more than only demonstrate. But in fact, uh, with this repression, this oppression, this crackdown, and with the Islamophobia of these 15 past years, uh, this had a real impact on the
Psyche of the
uh,
Muslim young Muslims, right?
on the young Muslim, but on the solidarity movement with Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when we spoke about the fact that there is it is decreasing, the number of the protesters is declining a little bit, but at the beginning, we must remember that in France, for weeks, it was forbidden to even speak about Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Even if
Yes.
you had a Palestinian flag or a kufiya like this, you could be arrested in the
I think
streets.
even right now they are going to ban for the French match between France and
Israel,
Israel.
yes. There is a
Yeah,
demonstration today for against this match.
French people, mashallah,
They
they have a lot of spirit Muslims, huh? Whatever the government says will defy you.
yes, they want to ban, but only around the stadium. They
Okay.
will ban any flag, any kufiya, anything that shows that you are with Palestine, because they're afraid that it can disturb the match between France and Israel. And in fact, this stadium is the biggest stadium in France. You can have, I think, 80. Not I think, I'm sure, more than 80,000 people in this stadium. They bought, they sold. I mean, only 2,000 tickets for this match. And you have
20,000. I heard 20,000 something, yes.
20, what did I say?
20,000.
20,000.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
20,000 tickets for this match. So you will have only the quarter of the stadium for this match, and they brought more than 4,000 police officers to secure to for the security of this match, and more than 1,500 of private security agents for this, and even Israeli police officers will
Hmm.
be present at the stadium. So that's
I mean,
if it is
imagine if it was a match between probably like I don't know, just like Senegal and France, and Senegal sends its army to France to patrol. I mean, imagine how the French would react, and they allow Israel. This is
They would react.
ridiculous.
It is like you say, they would all react. But because it is Israel, it is normal for people that Israel sends police officers. It
I
is
wouldn't even imagine like France allowing German police to be in France. Like, forget about even Senegal or Ivory Coast. Like, I wouldn't even imagine like France sending German police, like, patrolling in France.
they,
Yeah,
they did it for the Olympic Games, but it is something usual in
but it
Olympic
was like
Games.
multiple countries. It's not just one
Yes,
country. It was like
it's
multiple.
just
It
not
was an
one
agreement.
country.
Yeah.
It was an agreement, but it's like you say, it's true. Israel has a special place, even in the people mind. It is not something that is shocking people. They spoke about it on TV. They said that Israeli police officers would be present at the stadium, and no one said anything on
This,
TV or even on newspaper. No one, nobody said anything.
uh,
So
so yeah.
this
Uh,
is something that shows. I'm sorry. This is something that shows what is the French government involvement with Israel, and that France is one of the pillars of the genocide. It's not just supporting or Israel. No, it's a pillar of the
mhm.
genocide, because all the French medias support genocide. All they send weapons, munitions,
Ammunitions,
and
yes.
ammunitions, and they when even, for example, Smotrich is the Israeli minister is coming to France, they say okay, he can comes, and it won't be any, there won't
Mhm.
be any problem. Uh, so we see what is the role of France in this war.
Yeah.
France is a part of the genocide.
So forget about France. Maybe I want to talk about Muslims. Like when they have the spirit to come out. Like on one side, we do see the dwindling of the numbers and coming to protest a little bit, but at the other side, we also see the spirit that Muslims do have when it comes to not just Nahel's the Islamophobia and Nahel and the whole movement, but also for Palestine. They have the spirit. How important is like the fight to gain back your rights, like, because unless and until you fight it, you don't get it. Like you gave the example of Elias, like unless and until we regroup, you're not going to get your rights. So um people might be hesitant, and you said like with the Nahel thing, people have this trauma. Can you tell us a little bit like how important is it to go out on protests and like gain fight for your rights?
It is something fundamental, because if we come back on the case of Elias, if
Mm-hmm.
they didn't put him in jail for years, it's because we demonstrated. It's because we worked on this case,
Mm-hmm.
and even for Palestine in France, even the diplomatic position of France changed because of the demonstrations. And I wanted to just add something about the declining number of the protesters. It is true that we have less, but in France, we didn't even reach the 100,000 protesters in Paris, while in the same time in London, you had millions in the streets. And this is because of the crackdown and the Islamophobic and racist context in France. So it is decreasing, but not so much, because at the beginning we were not so much so many in the streets.
Yes.
It is decreasing, but in the same time, the political movement for Palestine is getting stronger, is getting some more legitimate. It's speaking with with the French parties in the parliament. It's becoming a movement which is has a legitimate place in the French in France, or is forcing its legitimacy. And we see that a lot of people, especially Muslims, are getting politicized. We say politicized or politicized? Politicized, I think.
They politicized, yes.
Politicized and getting. They learn about the history of Palestine, but not just about Palestine, about Islamophobia,
They were
about
getting
racism.
political, yes, yes.
Yes, they're getting political more and more. So our movement is getting stronger, and this is why they try to make a lot of trials these last weeks, because they want to break the leaders. And after more than a year of demonstrations and protests and solidarity, we have a movement which is not strong enough, but which is getting stronger. And this is okay. It's decreasing on one hand, but on another hand, it is maybe, I think it is my opinion, that Urgence Palestine is maybe one of the biggest political movement. I mean, real political movement, which has activists in all the country, which leads the protest, the demonstration, which is thinking, which is saying we want this and this and that for Palestine. It's for me one of the biggest political movement in France since a long time.
Okay. So how important is, because of all these crackdowns and stuff, how important is building leadership among Muslims, and also building, I mean, you have a lot of Muslims, and I think in the parliament you have a few Muslims in the parliament, or even the European Parliament. So how important is building leadership skills in Muslims, and also how important is the presence of Muslims in politics?
In fact, in parliament, there is some Muslim people that most of them in the in left political
Left parties, yes.
But they are not in the parliament as Muslims. They don't have any Muslim, like you said before, secularism makes you say, okay, I'm Muslim in this part of my life, but in this other part, I won't speak as a Muslim. I will speak as a Republican, as a leftist, as whatever. So they are not at the parliament as Muslims to say, for example, we will speak and propose laws and debate and defend some positions as Muslims for the Muslim community. And to say that we think that Islam must be, or is the best basement for all people, or for any country. They are just members of the parliament, of political parties in parliament. But it is true that this is something a little bit new, because before we didn't have
any representation.
But we cannot call them representation, because they don't represent us as a community, as people that are thinking, living as Muslims, because they serve some political parties that have programs, ideology, specific. Some parties that are, we can say,
they're against Islam. It's normal,
Muslim, not against Islam 100%, no, against Islam, but not against Muslims 100%, that might support us, might fight with us for Palestine, and in some way against Islamophobia. But these are parties that won't defend Islam as a political or
Or
civil.
even the freedom of religion. They don't really support the freedom of religion. Like lakum dinakum waliyadin, like your religion for you and our religion for us. They don't really support that. They want to enforce their ideologies onto us.
In fact, the work that we made in Perspectives Musulmanes helped some leftist political movements to change a little bit about this.
No,
So that
nice.
you see more leftists these days. It's not. It's still a work that we must continue. But you see more and more leftists that are okay to say, okay, Muslims have the right to live their deen as they want.
Mm-hmm.
And they have also the right to speak as Muslims, even if we are not, we not agree, we disagree
Mm-hmm.
with their ideas and ideology. So you have more and more leftists, activists, and organizations that are in some way okay with this. And this is something that is a result of our work and our involvement in
It's
mobilizations.
slow, but it's consistent, and inshallah, it's improving.
Yes, it is very slow, but
Mhm.
like you said, it's improving. It is something that we must continue. So
I mean,
we
I
have,
meant it not in a derogatory way. The reason I said it's slow is because some people think like, okay, it's transaction. Everything should happen. Once I spoke, the next day everyone should just accept. And I meant slow in for those people like, it's not gonna happen in a day. It's like things take time to, absorb step by step and to accept as well. So that's what I meant as slowly. I didn't want to say, uh,
no, and you're right. This is like this. If you take, like we said before, the stories of the prophets, you have Nuh alayhi salam who preached 9 centuries.
yes,
You have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
sallallahu alaihi
wasallam.
wasallam.
The majority of his preaching, because he preached as a prophet
For 9 years in Mecca,
for 13 years in Mecca,
13 years
and,
in Mecca, yes.
and after 10 years in Medina.
Mm-hmm.
So the majority of his preaching was something long, very difficult. Only few people believed in him, and it took a lot of time. So it's like you said, it's not just I make a speech and it is true, so people will see the truth, the haqq. It's not like this, because as we say, for example, Abu Jahl, uh, he knew the truth, but he refused it. And the
Mm-hmm.
French media, for example, they know the truth about Palestine, about what's happening. They know it, but they refuse it, and they keep lying to the people, to everyone,
Mm-hmm.
while they know the truth. They know that there is a genocide. They know that Israel want to destroy Palestine, because this is things that you can prove. I mean, all the Israeli ministers of the government every day speaks about destroying Gaza, destroying West Bank, annex to steal land and to kill even babies.
Mm-hmm.
Every day speak like this, so you can find these speeches. They know the truth, but they refuse to accept it. So it's not just because you speak true with the truth, with the haqq, that people will follow. It's not like this. Even
Mm-hmm.
prophets, people didn't follow them just because they speak true with the truth, the haqq.
Yes. So it is eventually, slowly, I hope it's gaining the moment. But like, can you tell us how important is Muslim participation in leadership? Because I understand that the representatives are not the best that we have, but eventually we have to build our own leaders, grassroots leaders to step up and to help. Because like you said, with Elias's case, It was not just the organization, but it was about somebody being in a political position to push the um, agenda of injustice, like to push away. So, do you think it's important? Because the last time I had with a conversation with another French person, he told me that the most important thing is organizations. But do you think it should be a balance of we need more stronger organizations, but also leaders in the political spectrum?
I think that you need both. You cannot have an organization without leaders. But what do we how do we define the leader? We don't see, for example, in Perspectives Musulmanes, we don't believe that we need what we call in Arabic zu'ama, za'im. We don't need
Mhm.
za'im. We don't need like this kind of guide that will tell the truth and that his word is خلاص, it's the aqidah and you cannot say anything. No. For example, Perspectives Musulmanes, uh, our organization look likes the Muslim community in France. We have
Mhm.
people with beard, some with don't have beard. We have sisters with hijab, or not wearing hijab. We have a lot of kind of people, but we say that our principles, and we follow or we try to follow the Quran, the Sunnah, the fundamentals of Islam, and if there is something wrong, we say it. This is not
This is not according to Islam.
this is not according to Islam, for example, or this is according to Islam. But we accept our community as it is.
Mhm.
Uh,
My question was more towards political leaders
yes,
in parliaments and stuff. Yes.
uh, but we believe that politic the politic is not only in elections and parliament.
It's
The
also.
real politic
Mhm.
is with your community, in your city, in your neighborhood, in your masjid, in the in your school, where you learn people, where you educate people, where you help people with issues, Islamophobic issues, for example, or you help Muslims who cannot eat every day as they want, where you help Muslim children to be good at school, and this is the real politic for us. And for us, we don't want two or three leaders or some leaders in the parliament. We want the biggest number possible of leaders
Mhm.
that are not all the activists won't be leaders,
Of course.
of course, but we for example, the work that I make in Perspectives Musulmanes and Urgence Palestine, my wish is that in a few months, 5, 7 or 10 people can take my place and do it better than me. This is my objective.
Mhm.
And because me, I
It's not about
am an
yourself. It's about the movement. It's about like,
about the movement, it's about the
yes.
community. I'm an activist since maybe 10, 15 years. And I want how can I say, to teach, not to teach, to
To help.
give to
Mhm.
give all this experience to the Muslim youngsters. And like this, they take this experience. They don't have to, because when we got involved in politics or in demonstrations and everything, we didn't had a lot of
Support.
mentors or
Mhm.
people which taught us how to think, we want and we don't want that youngsters to make 10 years of mistakes before finding uh, a good way to struggle. We want
Mhm.
to say, okay, we during 10 years, 20 years, we made this and this, and we had these
Successes and
conclusions.
these failures. So you should. Mhm.
Yes, you must take everything of this and build on it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
like this, you will be stronger than us, wiser than us, because you will have all this experience uh, that was given to you.
It's about, like you said, it's not about the person, it's about the movement. It's about what we want. We want justice. We want a stronger Muslim community. We want what do you call it? The word to spread as well. So how important is Islam and I don't know if I put this question before, but how important is activism in Islam?
Activism is a part of Islam because our deen, I don't know, these are things that I can express it better in Arabic or French, but I will try to make myself understandable. Our deen is a belief in the heart, is with words and with acts. You cannot separate the acts from the heart, the words from the acts, or the words from the heart. If you say something, if you defend the position, it will be always the result of something what happened in your heart, in your soul. If you make some actions, for example, you help poor people, you defend Palestine, you defend your brothers and sisters all around the world, it will be the result of something in your heart, in your soul. It could be a real iman, you make it for Allah. It could be also hypocrisy. Someone who says, I help people because I want people to see that I am a good man and I take care and everything. But it's always the result of something happening inside of us. And sometimes it could also be the result of nothing. Some people has nothing to defend and act like robots. And we Muslims are not robots. So our actions must always have sense. You cannot act without a sense as a Muslim. Even eating can be retributed by Allah Azza wa Jal if you eat to get stronger, if you eat to get stronger for Muslims, if you, for example, if you take care of
Allah has created us.
Yes, if you take care of your body to make qiyam al-layl, for example, to pray during the night, all these things, simple things in the life, can be retributed by Allah Azza wa Jal if you put the intention. So there is no action in our life that must be without meaning, without sense. We have to put intention in all of our actions. And activism is maybe one of the most important thing as actions that we must do as Muslims. Because even if you take the seerah, the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in Mecca, he demonstrated. Muslim made demonstrations. You know this episode when the Muslims after the Islam of Umar radiallahu anhu, what did he
they marched around the streets of Mecca, and it's not just a moment of Umar radiallahu anhu. I think I would also give the example of we always tend to use the example of Umar radiallahu anhu as a strong figure, but take the example of Ibn Masud. Ibn Masud,
I wanted to speak about Ibn Masud, who went you had demonstrations with a lot of people, and you had sometimes people like Ibn Masud alone getting in front of the mushrikeens and how do you say,
reciting Surah Rahman in front of everyone, even though the Prophet told him. The Prophet ﷺ told him not to go because people would beat him up. He still was adamant because it was.
He told him, but he approved.
Yeah.
He told him, okay, people will harm you, but he approved. It's not something he disapproved. It's not something, for example, haram. If he had disapproved it, the Mas'ud would stop the first day.
Definitely.
Would have stopped the first day. But no, every day he came back and they beat him and they left him. Some people said that we didn't recognize him even. So, and even if you take Umar as an individual, it's not only the march. There is a hadith saying that Umar, when he became Muslim, every day he went to fight against the mushrikeen until they allowed the Muslims to pray at the Kaaba.
It's
Before
strength
they,
until
before they,
until you fight for your right, you're not gonna get your rights back.
if you don't fight, you won't get anything. And the people who says that no, the Muslims should not be get involved in politics, or I don't even know, or for Palestine, or sometimes to these people I say to them, if someone wants to forbid you to pray, what will you do? You have some options. You can go to another country, another place, but you will do something, and or you can fight to say no, I will pray make my salat in this place, in that place, and you won't forbid me. You won't forbid me of
Interfere.
praying. Interfere. You won't interfere, but you will do something. You will not just sit like this and say we cannot do anything. No, because it is not. You will your behavior will be against the behavior of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions, because they fought for their rights. They fought for the right to pray. They fought for the right to preach Islam and everything, and they sacrificed themselves to it. We know, for example, Bilal radiallahu anhu. They tortured him, and not just only him, but they tortured him to. Even if he was allowed to abandon Islam, to show that he abandons Islam,
At least in
to save
public, yeah.
because
But
he
still,
was allowed,
Mhm.
but he soldiers on. He refused to abandon. He refused to let them think that they won. And so activism is something. I mean, if someone attacks our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our sons, our fathers, what would you do? Would you sit down? Well, I cannot do anything. It's contrary to Islam, or no? You would defend them. So you have to. If you would defend your father and your mother, you have to consider
the Muslims are our brothers.
That Palestinians, that Sudanese, that I don't know, Bengalis, that Algerians,
Rohingyas,
that
yes.
brothers in Mali, that all of these people, or the sisters in the French schools that they force them to
remove the hijab.
remove the hijab and the abaya. You have to consider them as your fathers, sisters, mothers, brothers. You have to consider them like this.
Can I ask you one question? When you said about migration, to move, would you consider Muslims in France to migrate to another country, or should they fight? What is actually your recommended position? And I am not a big fan of migration, because anywhere you go, they're coming. It's not like they left Iraq alone, or it's not like Africa is like left alone. It's a very lame excuse. But what is your position?
My position is where it's in the relation with my answer, is that wherever you will be, you don't have the choice. You have to act. You have to do something. You have to defend your deen. You don't have the choice, and you defend it. The way you will defend your deen will depend of the abilities that the things that the abilities that you will have in this country or another country. You won't defend your deen in Palestine like you defended it in France or in England or in Poland. But if you make hijrah, if you migrate, if you make hijrah because you feel
you feel it's a necessity.
No, not just a necessity. If you feel that okay, this land is too dangerous for me, and in other country it will be better, and I will be able to live my deen as an individual or only with my family. This is not a good way of thinking, because wherever you will be, you will need to struggle, because this is a sunnah kawniyya. This is universal law of Allah Azza wa Jalla. I don't know if it's the good term, but the good word for this. But you will need to struggle. You don't have the choice. And even if you live in a Muslim country, everything is okay. You will need to struggle for other Muslims in other countries. It will be a mission for you. So you cannot just stay like this and okay, my life is good, and I pray my 5 prayers.
Yes.
And my wife can wear hijab or niqab, and my children can learn some Islamic basis in some fundamentals in school. No, it's not. We live as a community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the Almighty says in the Quran, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. He says that He speak about us as a community, as a ummah. We're not alone. We're not just families. When He speaks to us, Allah, He speaks to us as individuals, as families, because He says, قُوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. Save yourselves and your families from the fire.
From the fire, yes.
And He speaks about us as a community. There is 3 levels. You don't have to behave only as an individual, or only as a family, or only as a community. You have to behave as an individual in front with Allah, as a family with Allah, as a community with Allah Azza wa Jalla. You have these 3 levels, and you cannot skip one of these levels. You cannot. So my position with migration is that if you have as a project, as individual or family, you see that you need to leave this country. This is a choice that we respect, and frankly, I will say that France, for me at the beginning, wasn't something. I wasn't planning myself to stay in France. I had to. The plan was that we had to come back, not in Palestine because we were forbidden of Palestine. We had to come back to Syria with our family. But the war started, so we got ourselves stuck in France.
Sorry, complete, please.
Just to finish on this, but you cannot say that migration can be a project for 10 million Muslims. There is no such kind of project. It's impossible. You will always have people which will be forced to stay because, for example, their father is ill, or someone in jail, or for any. You will always have people which will be forced to stay. What will we do about these people? Even if 4 million, 5 million Muslims leave France, they will have to take care about those who stay. They will have to struggle for them.
And where will they go? And it's a lot of troubles. So let me ask you 2 questions, but I don't know which one you pick. It's up to you. What is your message to Muslims who come to protest, but they're not very indulged in Islam? Like they don't pray, the connection for them about Islam, I think they secularize the movement a little bit. So how important is Islam in everyday life of activism? Because they might be active in protests and stuff. What I'm saying is, like, they might be active in protests, but
you mean yes. First, we have to be convinced of something, that the nusra of Allah, the victory that Allah will give us, the impact of our even our actions, the real victory is the victory that you have with Allah Azza wa Jal. So if you help your Muslims brothers and sisters, if you help the people that are oppressed, even if they're not Muslims, if you help these people, okay, you're doing something good, you're doing something which is your duty. But is it your first duty? It's like, you know, for example, I don't want to compare Allah to the parents. Ma'adallah.
I think even the example that you gave me, the 3 levels, Yes, you're
Yeah.
jumping only on the three level, but all three levels are important. It's not just one
All three
level, it's
levels.
all three
And the most
levels.
important is the first, is the
Yes.
individual level, because you will be judged by Allah as an individual, not as a community, not as a family. Because if all your community, for example, decides to, ma'adallah, yani, decides to quit Islam, to leave Islam, if you're the only Muslim in your country, you have to stay Muslim, because and to try to convince people to come back to Islam, even if they refuse. But in front, amam Allah, don't say in front, when you will be with Allah, he will judge you as someone who stayed in Islam and tried to convince people to come back to Islam as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone's leave Islam because he says, "Oh, I saw Muslims with bad behavior," what will Allah will say to him? Okay, I will judge them, but you have a mind. You can think. Do you
Do you
for
follow them
example,
or do you follow the
do
religion
you
of
follow
Allah?
them or me or the Prophet? Which one do you follow? Do you follow them or me and the Prophet? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So if you
But can you
don't,
give it as a message to the non-practicing Muslims? Like I feel like you're talking to Muslims, but can you give a message to non-practicing Muslims the importance of Islam and activism? I don't know, like maybe I feel it because maybe I'm wrong. So
no, my message is
one second,
already for
something happened to the
non-practicing
audio.
Muslims. Something happened.
One second, just 1 second. Yeah, can you say now?
Hello, Assalamu
Yes,
alaikum.
I can hear you.
Can you
Walaikum
hear me?
salam.
Is it good?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
My message is already for non-practicing Muslims, because your first duty is not to help even your family, is not to help poor people or oppressed people. It is a duty, but the first one is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, because
Mm-hmm.
this is why He created us. And the first worship you have to do is that you even La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you to recognize that Allah is there is no other God except Allah, and that you pray for Allah and make what Allah asked from you. And after everything that you do for your family and for people, this enters in some kind of worshiping, because Allah asks you to take care of your family, to make the da'wah, to preach, to help your brothers and sisters. So if you obey Him in these things, you're in a kind of worshiping. But the first step is like, for example, someone, his parents treat him very well. They give him everything. They educate him the best education, and this child is good with everyone in the world. All the people says that he's the best man or woman in this city, but with his parents, he treats them badly. What will we say about this child? Will we say that he's a good person or a bad person? What would you say?
It's about it's definitely about person. It's hypocrisy.
It's a hypocrisy. We will say that he's bad, because the first people that you have to respect is your parents, your family, and after the other.
Your
You
closest
cannot
ones,
respect
yes.
all the people and not respect your family. So if you're okay with this idea, how can you help all the world, give the time to all the people, and not give a little bit of time, 5 prayers a day for Allah Azza wa Jal? He is the one that created you. He is the one that allows you to eat, to breathe, to drink. He's the one who gave you shelter. He's the one that will allow you to enter paradise, that will forgive you, that will say, okay, you didn't say astaghfirullah for all of you, didn't ask for forgiveness for all of your sins. It's not a problem. I will forgive a lot of your sins, even the one you forgot. And this
Rahman.
the Rahman, you won't give him his haqq, even if he doesn't need it, but you won't give the haqq that he asked you, which is not something too so big. I mean, to pray 5 times a day, some people will speak with their friends and eat and do watch movies hours. But you cannot pray 5 times a day. Few minutes.
Even protest, like you're coming to protest, but like protest builds character. It builds discipline. It builds like not being afraid of anything. I think prayer builds that kind of confidence in you. So I have a very short time for you. So can you just, I have one last question and then we'll sum it up. One last question is, what is your message to secularists or non-Muslims with regards to Palestine and protests? It can be anything about Islam or it can be about Palestine as well.
This message will be also for the Muslims which are not praying, for example. Take example on the Palestinian people. Everyone on this world, after the 7th of October and the beginning of the genocide, you had a lot of people who converted to Islam because they saw the faith, the iman of the not everyone, not all Palestinians are with this iman. It's like all other people, but they saw all these families losing children, losing fathers, mothers, losing their home, losing all their world, and still have faith
insisting on
in
their
Allah.
faith.
And this have faith in Allah and faith in the fact that they have to resist against Israel, and the fact that they won't surrender. I mean, we're talking about the genocide and they still don't want to surrender. When you see this, these people have this level of faith. It is an example for us. And in fact, I was talking about helping people, but in fact, it's not us that are helping the Palestinians. It is the Palestinians that are helping us. It is the oppressed people in the world, for example, in Iraq, Afghanistan, in Sudan. These people, when they keep, they still have faith and they don't want to surrender, they resist, they are an example to us. And Palestinian people is one of the greatest examples of faith and Islam and Iman in this world in these days. So, and I would say to non-Muslims, you believe that what's happening in Palestine is a complete injustice, is maybe the summum of injustice. This is because you have in your fitra, in your
natural disposition.
Yes, in your natural disposition, the belief that there is some points, if you touch it, it is an injustice. If you kill people without any reason, if you destroy their homes, if you destroy hospitals, you know in your heart, in your soul, that this is injustice. And Islam is the belief, the faith that conducts the mankind to liberate, to free itself from all kinds of slavery, modern slavery, from oppression,
materialism,
from
everything.
Islam conducts you from materialism, from all these things, from all the slavery that the liberal and modern systems try to put people, because all of the people that are struggling for Palestine, they usually they are against the liberal system. They see that liberalism is a problem. Islam is the exact contrary of liberalism. It conducts you from materialism, to free yourself from this and to go to the unique, to Allah Azza wa Jal, that will conduct us in this world and the afterlife in the best way of life, in the best I mean, like we said, Islam is not just for the afterlife. It's also the best way to live in this world, the best relation that you can have with people, with products, with even animals, with the nature. You have in Islam the best way of life in society,
living your
with
life.
everything.
So we have a very short time, so Jazakallah khair for the insight, inshallah. I will put the link in the description. Do you have any concluding words? We have less than a minute, so if you have any concluding words, just let us know. You can share it.
Tahya Palestine, free Palestine. Inshallah, we will pray in the Masjid al-Aqsa.
Ameen, ameen.
قريبا بإذن الله.
Inshallah, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Ahmed. So we will stay in touch.